Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. Today I'm talking about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. There's been a talks of another Indiana Jones happening for years now. I think it's even been 15 years since Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Steven Spielberg, a couple years back, said that he wouldn't be returning for this one, but we do happen to have James Mangold from Logan and Copland and Ford v Ferrari and a couple of other big films who did want to direct this movie instead. At this time, you guys, we find Indiana Jones. He's trying to retire. He he's still a professor at a university somewhere. He's still teaching young kids about artifacts and young college students and things like that. And he kind of gets dragged into a situation of a device that he was once involved with when he was younger. There was a Nazi general that's played by Matt Mikkelsen that wanted this thing that's referred to as the sundial of destiny. There's like a more specific term for it, but I just don't remember it off the top of my head. And basically, years ago, Indiana Jones got one half of the dial, while the Nazi general guy got the other half. And it's years later, and a young woman claiming to be Marcus's goddaughter. Marcus is a character from the previous Indiana Jones movies, and basically she wants the both halves of the sundial to basically complete her research. She's been doing research on it. She's been really obsessed with this sundial since she was a little girl. And there's even a character that we meet earlier on in the movie that's also connected to this sundial as well. And basically, she wants it for the wrong reasons at first, but basically over the course of this film, her and Indiana Jones begin to bond. They start to realize they're kind of both on the same side for getting this dial back and things like that. And so over the course of this movie, they have to figure out how to get the other side of the dial back, making sure it doesn't get to the wrong hands. This Nazi general guy, wants to use it for the wrong reasons and rewrite history and things like that. So they have to get it back from him over the course of the movie, and they also have to make sure that it does belong in a museum, like most artifacts from the Indiana Jones universe. That Henry Jones Jr. would tell you belongs in a museum as well. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed this movie a lot. There is things about it that aren't perfect. There is certainly things about it that really could have used improvement. James Mangold does some things really, really well here as far as directing this movie goes, bringing Indiana Jones back to the big screen. But like I said, there is some negatives about it too that don't make it as good as some other Indiana Jones adventures. So let's kind of go over some positives and negatives of things that I enjoyed about the film, but why it's probably not going to be like a favorite Indiana Jones film of mine or anything like that. And that'll be over the course of my negatives. So for my positives of this movie, you guys, it does play into the old age of Indiana Jones really well. There is a lot of scenes where clearly he's not able to do the things that he once was able to do when he was younger, and so I do like that the screenplay is at least aware of his age. They're trying to do more action sequences and things with along the adventure that Harrison Ford could probably still do it at the age that he's in. I think he's in his 80s right now. So I do like that the film plays into his age a little bit more. I know Kingdom of the Crystal Skull kind of did, sort of, but this film even more so plays into his age even more, and I think that benefits the film. It makes the film a little bit more, you know, believable in some senses. So I do like that they played into his old age even more so in this film. I also like how the space age hype was definitely a big thing in society during the 60s when we had our first, man land on the moon with NASA. So I do like how the film plays into that, how it's kind of a big deal for everybody, how the world kind of shut down to make sure that they could witness, the first man on the moon and things like that. And so also the film plays into this when Indiana Jones is in trouble and the sundial of destiny is once again on the sun. People are hunting for it, on the look for it. And the film plays into the fact that people are just so stargazed by the man on the moon stuff that the world is kind of their playground now, that they're able to kind of go about and hunt for the sundial before the bad guys get it. And so I do like how the space age hype was kind of cleverly worked into the story of this movie. And it's not the way that the costume design and the environment design and the way that the film looked during those scenes was also very effective. I also thought the de-aging effects was pretty effective as well. I would say probably in the first 25 minutes or so when we go back in time and see Indiana Jones and how he's connected to the Dial of Destiny to begin with. when we kind of see what's supposed to be a younger Indiana Jones with the de-aging effects. Works pretty well for the most part. It looks good. I don't know if it necessarily syncs in well with Harrison Ford's modern voice. You can definitely tell it's kind of an older person using, an older person's voice over a younger character look. So I don't know if that necessarily translates really well. So, but overall, the de-aging effects, the way that it looks in particular, I thought was pretty good for the most part. Mads Mikkelsen, as expected, is a terrific villain in this movie. He was a terrific villain in Casino Royale for the Bond universe, and he's a terrific villain for Indiana Jones as well. Definitely plays this Nazi character in a very effective way. Definitely very menacing, very evil. Is able to do, is willing to do really terrible things to people to kind of get his way with things. So very terrific performance from Mads Mikkelsen. Huge thumbs up for that. Very powerful villain in this movie. Probably one of our better Indiana Jones villains we've had, probably since maybe Last Crusade. So that's kind of saying a lot in my book. There's also a lot of fun character cameos that come back. I won't get into some of them because some of them would be spoiler territory, but we do get characters that return from Raiders of the Lost Ark and characters that return from earlier Indiana Jones adventures, and it was fun to see a lot of those older characters again and what they're currently doing now, or at least currently doing in the 60s for where this film is taking place. And it was just fun to see those returning characters come back for another Indiana Jones adventure again. And also the film's camera work I thought was very effective. James Mangold really knows how to shoot the movie. He knows what exactly he wanted with cinematography and how to shoot the action scenes and things like that. So James Mangold really did a terrific job kind of supervising that and making sure that all that translated really well from the script to the page to the screen. And I thought it was very effective overall. For my negatives of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, though, unfortunately, when we do get into the third act of the movie and we really kind of get to see what this Dial of Destiny really does, the film does kind of overcomplicate what this device really can do and how it's used. I just did not like how you really can't decide what time period you want to be in, what day you want to go to. It's not like the flux capacitor or the DeLorean from Back to the Future. Once you kind of find out the real powers of this device, it just kind of overcomplicates it. I really wish they just found a way to make it seem like something that everybody would want as far as time travel was concerned. Because when you find out how it works and why the villain of the film wants to use it, it just feels very overcomplicated, and it just feels like something where if everything doesn't match up the way that it should, there really isn't kind of a way to properly use this device to begin with. And I just really did not like that. It's just like I almost kind of felt bad for the villain, to be honest with you, because it's just like he had to go through so much work. He had to plan it so distinctively over the years. And if it didn't line up in any way, shape, or form, he couldn't even use this device that he was on a quest for. So I didn't really like that aspect of the movie. I also thought the young kid that joins Indiana Jones and Phoebe Waller-Bridge on this adventure, there's this like young little kid that is really knowledgeable. He knows how to hack stuff, knows how to apparently fly a plane and stuff like that too. I really did not like this character at all. I thought he was just kind of annoying. It's just one of those things where I feel like they were trying to relive the short round days with Temple of Doom, and it just did not work for me. Maybe it's just the way the character was written, but for the most part, I found this character to be kind of annoying. And definitely I thought they really could have substituted for another character that would have been more fun for Indiana Jones to have on his adventure. Just kind of an annoying little kid that really didn't work for me. I also thought this film has some pacing issues. It makes the film feel like it has a longer runtime than it really does. It is 2.5 hours, so it is already kind of long as it is. But there is some pacing issues to the point where certain scenes feel way longer than they should. Certain scenes really just kind of sit there and let you soak it in probably longer than you really need to kind of really get what's going on. So I thought pacing-wise, the film could have used improvement. I don't know if they could have done something with the editing or with the writing for this, but for the most part, I thought some of the pacing issues was a little problematic this time around. And I also thought this film was lacking the Steven Spielberg energy that we had in the previous Indiana Jones movies, even with the fourth one as well. There's just a certain level of energy these films have, and I just don't know if that was a James Mangold choice, or if it was just the way he decided to approach this film. He wanted to have a more serious tone with Indiana Jones. But I felt like the energy that Steven Spielberg brought to these movies from those earlier four films was a little missing here. It just didn't quite feel as fun or as energetic as those earlier films did. So that is one thing that you can definitely tell a different director came on board for and kind of changed that up a little bit. Some people might like that. I personally thought it kind of took away a little bit of the fun and the energy of Indiana Jones a little bit. So the Steven Spielberg energy is kind of gone here, and that's really too bad. I kind of missed it from those earlier films. And also, for the most part, I don't really know what James Mangold brought to Indiana Jones. Like, for a guy that made Logan and Ford v Ferrari and Copland and the Wolverine and all this stuff that a lot of people, including myself, really like. I just don't know what he really brought here. I just don't know if he just was really trying to continue what Steven Spielberg started and didn't want to get people angry. But it is James Mangold. It is somebody that is good about character development and watching characters kind of turn into something or devolve from something. And that could have worked really well for Indiana Jones. And unfortunately, that skill that James Mangold brings as a director that makes him so appealing as a director as well, I just don't know what he really brought to the table here other than just continue what Steven Spielberg started with Raiders of the Lost Ark. But overall, I'm going to give Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny an 8.5 out of 10. There's tons of things to like about this movie. There's also, unfortunately, a lot of things to not like about this movie, so I think that is something that's going to kind of wear it down for me. For me personally, I think Last Crusade is my favorite Indiana Jones movie. Raiders of the Lost Ark is probably my second favorite Indiana Jones movie. Kind of a hot take, maybe Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I know I'm kind of a defender of that movie a little bit, so I probably would put that at number 3. Temple of Doom, I probably would put at number 4 just because there's a lot of scenes in it that I think are just kind of gross and not fun to watch. And yeah, I'll probably put this tied with Temple of Doom. It's probably just passable. I could watch it if I want to, but it's just not a very super memorable Indiana Jones movie. So they probably both tied for number 4. Really, they're kind of both on the same boat for me. They both have issues where there's things about both of them that aren't my favorite. But 8.5 out of 10 for me. I really enjoyed this movie. I do recommend it. Just go into this film knowing that it's not going to be the greatest thing you've ever seen. It's certainly not The Last Crusade. It's certainly not Raiders of the Lost Ark. So 8.5 out of 10 for me. Really enjoyed the movie. Do go into it knowing, though, that it does have some problems as well.